Welcome back. Let's talk to a poet. Oluwaseun Falaye joins us right here in our Lagos studios. Mr. Falaye, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Yeah, good morning, Jeff.
It's been a while we saw a poet in that sense, you know. You guys are a rare breed, but we're happy to see what some of you are now doing. I think in the last 2 years or so, I saw a young lady who, from her poetry, she now does some real big work for brands in that sense. I don't think it was a popular thing. So perhaps it's the direction of content creation. So talk to us about how it is to be successful as a poet before we go to the nitty-gritty.
Poetry is as old as nature conservation and even culture. Even before a lot of the things we know today are being documented, right? Culture is being transmitted via verbal communication, like what we know today as our folklores and all of that. They are being transmitted as verbal communication. And I mean, in that lineage, that is where poetry belongs. And, with poetry, you tend to communicate complex beliefs, complex cultures, complex emotions, basically. You encode them in memorable lines and you transport them. And of course, with the advent of content creation as we have it today, we have spoken words, which, also falls under a certain genre of poetry. And of course, that's good money spinning venture.
Money spinning venture.
Absolutely.
I'm interested in that. You got my attention.
Absolutely. So you do well. You do that well yourself.
Thank you very much. But let's talk about the money, right? It's for the good of the economy.
Absolutely.
This is not for any of us, right?
Absolutely.
But when you talk about that bit of it, how can we multiply? How can we 10x it? Because I see a lot of talent. And you said that poetry is as old as nature itself,
Absolutely.
right? And it's amazing how much of talent we have in Nigeria. Maybe it's because of the challenges around us that everybody just becomes a poet, or at least a lot of people are not just poets, but they're very deep.
Absolutely.
You can see that talent. You can see the depth of thought. You're like, this can compete globally, but somehow it's still where it is. So how can we 10x, 20x? Is that something we're missing for you?
As we had today, you will agree with me that the media, right, especially social media as we have it today, is an amplifier.
Yeah.
It's a voice amplifier. Unlike before now where, poetry can just be confined to maybe a live audience in terms of performances and all of that. To amplify all of that right now, with the advent of social media, it amplifies your voice, it widens your reach, it widens your audience, and that's where the advantage is. Whatever it is you're doing, as a matter of fact, my published book, If I Were My Country's President, is on Amazon. It's on Amazon. That's an amplified platform, right? And it means anybody from, I have even relatives, friends from the US, from Europe that has reached out, that has acquired it, and the feedback.
And the collections forward was penned by Engineer Benga Daniel, if I'm correct. So I want to have a sneak peek, because everybody always says it, if I were my country's president. What is that about, really? And really, if you were our country's president, what will change? Explain that body of work for us. What are you hoping to trigger or maybe ignite by doing that?
What you just said reminds me of a conversation I had with a friend just immediately after the book was released. Yeah. He asked me what I would do first if I became the president of Nigeria. And just jokingly, I told him I would ensure a currency parity between the naira and the dollar. And yeah, of course, that was supposed to be a joke. Like we probably had it, the closest we ever had it in the 70s, where it was just maybe... there was never a time, in the 80s, as it were, there was never a time that a naira was equal to a dollar, right? Yeah. But then we had it that close. And taking a cue from that, you would agree with me that the mainstay of the economy at the time was agriculture. And at the time, we didn't need to bother too much about forex. We didn't need to bother too much about foreign reserves and all of that. But that is not the case now. Since oil was discovered,
there's been a total shift from that, and we've tend to, give little or less attention to other parts of the economy that could also grow our foreign exchange base.
I know you've done a lot of commentary on activism, leadership, and all of that. So following on that question of leadership, and I'm happy you mentioned parity with numbers. I'll just share with Kaide data by Statistens that showed that as of 1960, Nigeria's GDP was in the range of $4-point-something billion with about 45 million people, compared to South Korea, which their GDP then was $3-point-something billion. Today, Nigeria's GDP, in terms of value of GDP, is less than $200 billion, at about $182 or so billion, while that of South Korea is about 1.7 trillion by the IMF projection, but practically it's about 1.6 or so trillion. So we can see there's a lot of work to be done in that sense. So my question to you is, when you look at our country and what you do, are you doing enough within your collective to put the powerful to account? Or bring them to account in that sense? Because poets used to be such a powerful force that some of them ended up in prison because of what they just wrote.
Absolutely. Well, that's basically what I try to do with, if I were my country's president. It's an anthology, right? It speaks to different themes of social justice, of self-awareness as a nation, of course, holding countries to, holding leadership to accountability. There are diverse topics from a citizen's creed. A citizen's creed explores basically what the average citizen wants. The average citizen doesn't even want too much from leadership. They just want to be safe. They just want to be able to afford basic things, basic necessities of life, like shelter over their head, security, good motorable roads. Basically to be able to earn a living, as it were. But as we have it today, and there are diverse topics being explored in the collection. There's T-Pain, of course. I'm sure we all. It's a lingo.
I love that your book is up to date. I love that.
Absolutely.
I love that.
We try to do that. We have T-Pain. We all know how that came about, and so yeah, basically what we tried to do. What I also did with that was to. I'm a Nigerian like everybody else, right? So I know what the yearnings, I know what everybody is saying. So we basically just brought all of that together into encoded, memorable lines that would resonate with the people.
You said something very instructive about your book previously, and I know you planned this, what some have described as an ambitious book tour, across Africa. But you said your goal was really about sparking a continent-wide conversation about our shared struggle, and find coordinated solutions. So today you have a conversation making rounds about Burkina Faso de facto leader, Ibrahim Traoré. Some say it is PR, but some say no. They see the way the people seem to love him in the country. There's a lot of positive talk about him. In fact, some have proffered that same solution for other African countries. So whether it is PR, whether it just shows that there is some sort of movement. And we've seen how other countries have also caught that bug in that sense. So when you talk about shared solutions for issues of governance in Nigeria, for citizenship as well, because it seems some people are saying, well, maybe we should go that way, but we forget that we've gone that route three times or so before. So what would be your final take on that African mindset about what governance should look like? And this talk about Ibrahim Traoré in Burkina Faso.
Quite dicey, right? I'm a fan of democracy, right? So whatever I'm going to say is not necessarily trying to point us in that direction. But you would agree with me that some of the hybrid development you have experienced as a nation came during the military administration. And I cannot remember who used that word. Maybe it was Obasanjo. He came up with the lingo, benevolent dictatorship, right? You cannot, if you have, democracy gives room for dissenting opinions, as it were. But then I'm also of of the opinion, and that's why a lot of people do not necessarily reconcile with the current administration that, I mean, we have. They sort of think he's been alienated from the people. But then, understandably, certain tough decisions needs to be taken.
Yeah.
And not minding, of course, there are going to be a few casualties here and there. So I basically stay, I mean, I'm a fan of democracy.
It's a tough one, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
But I want you to do a line for us. Maybe one of your favorite lines from your works, but something, because you have the voice. You have the mind, so boy, it would be remiss of us not to just take a line, something for you, perhaps, from your body of work.
Okay, I might not necessarily run,
Definitely,
run
just something for us to take over.
Okay,
short and straight.
Absolutely, I'll do something from the Citizens' Creed. The Citizens' Creed, I believe in the morning markets where hopes are not being dashed. I believe my votes should be worth more than their gold. I believe in excuse me, it's not coming now.
Absolutely. Just put you on the spot, so I totally understand. But the Citizens' Creed is part of the body of work that is called If I Were My Country's President, and the book is out there. It's great to see what you're doing, and we have to thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm sure people should go pick it up. Amazon, right?
Yeah, it's on Amazon.
Fantastic.
And you're more a writer than a performer.
I'm everything. I describe myself as a multi-layered creative.
There you go.
All right, fantastic. Oluwaseun Falaye is a poet, writer, and multi-layered creative.
I'm a filmmaker, I'm a journalist.
Okay.
We are going to explore that filmmaker bit. I knew that, but I said let's talk about the issues in the country first.
All right, thank you so much for coming on the program. We appreciate you. Thank you.
I mean, I would hope to be back soon.
Absolutely.
Not a problem. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll take a quick break now. When we come back, we'll get to some stretch of the conversations we have left on the program. Join us in just a moment. We'll be right back.
This happened exactly 1 month and 3 days ago. Imagine millions in investment, tens of millions, in fact, way more than that in investments just gone up in a smoke. We have joining us Joan Bogu, who is the CEO of Joanswood Creation Limited. She's our guest on this segment of Women in Business. Joan, good morning.
Good morning.
You know, I saw you earlier on and I said, you don't look like what you've been through. It's cliche, but it's, I mean, looking at that, and I saw the breakdown, by the way, and I must say that I saw the breakdown that you did of the costs that this really incurred for you in terms of the plant and machines, the office equipment, the projects. So there were projects that were ready to be delivered right there. The building, the factory itself. And I saw the total. And I said to myself, you don't look like what you've been through. Joan, what happened?
Thank you. Okay, so it was on the 9th of April. I actually had a conference to attend that same day. So my flight was 7 a.m. to Accra. I had this African Women Entrepreneurship Cooperative Conference that I had needed to attend. And so my phone rang. I set my alarm to ring at about 4 a.m. to get ready to go to the airport and all that. And so my phone rang around 2:40. And I thought it was my alarm. I'm like, okay. So this clip was this short. But in trying to, stand up from the bed, I said, no, this is not alarm. And I reached out for my phone, and it was my accountant on the other side of the phone, because normally I have staff that stay within the facility from Mondays to Friday, and they go home by the weekend. So there were people in the factory. And so I just, Madam, the factory is on fire, the factory is on fire. And that was it. And I just, I had just woken up and wore my clothes I beckoned on my brother who was staying with me, and I just drove down to the factory. It's about 15 minutes drive from my house to the factory. While I was even going to the factory, I could see the flame. And so when they told me, I didn't think it was that serious. I was like, okay, let me get and see what we can do. But while I was also going, I remember I called my chairman of my estate and I said, okay, this has happened. Please, how do I get fire service? I don't know what the situation. So he gave me a number. I quickly dialed 211, and miraculously, the call went through at one dial. And the lady, because then I was already, crying and all that, like, okay, calm down, what happened? She was trying to get the details and the location. I gave it to her. I said, okay, we're going to send people your way, just calm down. So I hung up and headed to the factory. So I got to the factory, let's say 15 minutes later. I think exactly like 2:55 a.m. I got there. And I remember I saw my cleaner. Madam, I'm so sorry, take heart. I'm like, how bad? She said, Madam, everything is gone. Then I was just about walking in. Immediately I walked in, I saw, of course, people were already there trying to quench the fire, but the fire was uncontrollable because we had roots, we had projects, everything there was gone. Inflammable, everything had gone. And I know there was one particular project that I was hoping that I could salvage. So I actually went in there, please, can we get this carriage? She said, Madam, you cannot go in, everything is more. They're particularly holding me, and I just stood there. I was wailing, I was crying. I called my friends, I was just calling people. I'm like, this fire service should even come on time and all that. And that feeling of just standing and you can't do anything, and everything that you've worked for like 9 years just going into the flames. Wow. It was a terrible one. So the fire service people came like 2 hours later. They came at about 4 a.m. Of course, the whole thing was already burnt down. We just had so in the building, the factory had burned down. The building where the office too had burnt, but it was remaining where the staff were staying. So they were able to salvage that 2 rooms, but every other thing, went down. Within the space of 2 hours.
So within the space of 2 hours, 9 years of hard work was over? Everything,
including projects that we had. So there was this particular project. We had like 2 projects that were completed. One was already 60% done. And to think that I was actually talking to my team 2 days before the fire, that maybe we should even get these things to the project site, since everywhere is, we had lots of things everywhere. And in hindsight, I'm just like, God, I couldn't question him, but I did. Like, why did this happen? Like, even if it had needed to happen, why didn't we even, like, some part burn and, just win something?
So that people would appreciate what we're talking about and what you're going through. Okay. Because it's just, can only imagine it. It's just difficult to process. Maybe we'll show the people what was the business all about. Okay. So what exactly do you do? What are you doing in the shop? So okay. They'll show the video, but you can comment on it.
So we are a wooden furniture manufacturing company. We specialize in making wooden products, cabinetry for bedroom spaces, living room spaces, and also doors. So we serve both individuals and corporate clients, and we are proud to say that our jobs are of great excellence, right? And we ensure that everything we do, all our products, meet the client's needs.
So this is before some of the machines.
Yes, one of the machines. That's the edge binder.
That's the edge binder.
Yes, one of the biggest machines actually.
So what machine is this?
The edge binder.
Okay, this is the edge binder.
Is that the one?
So you see those jobs there? They were actually all burnt. Those doors, those architraves,
jobs,
everything went down. Then the other side, we had some upholstery work. Everything burnt. This is the extractor.
So what did they say was the cause of the fire? I'm sure the reporter out as to what happened.
Yeah. So from what we gathered, it was a case of negligence on the security personnel, right? So something we were supposed to put out, it didn't. It was. Yeah, security personnel negligence that caused the fire.
So what I mean is, it's electrical? Is it what caused the flame in that sense?
Yeah, so a bit, yeah, more like electrical, yeah.
The elephant in the room. By the way, in case you're watching, this is before. Okay, this is what
so that's my office where we had samples.
So all of this was burnt.
Maybe we'll show them
all of
what
this
is
destroyed
going on
now. Am I correct? And I was
happened?
looking at the breakdown. The office equipment, about 10 million. Plants and machines, 28 million. Project affected, almost 37 million. You know, all of the other things, totaling almost 100 million naira in the breakdown that you did. And the elephant in the room question, which I imagine you've answered time and again, is insurance first. Was there anything like that? And because this is also a learning, because we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of women in business. So as much as possible, we want to lay the cards on the table. By the way, it's going to get better for you.
Amen.
It's going to definitely get better for you.
Amen.
But let's speak through those questions, because these are questions on the minds of people as well.
Yeah, so there wasn't an insurance, sadly.
So speak to us about how, because this is a month and 3 days after. How are you? I know that's the question we ask generically, and by the way, you might need this, because I noticed that
Thank you
might just need this. So how are you, Joan, on the one hand? And speak to us about how you're getting by right now.
Okay, so I'm okay. It's a kind of a very tricky question. So some days I'm okay, and some days I'm not. So I'm consciously trying to be okay, right? So because I have people, I have staff members that work with me, and everybody's kind of looking up to me, right? And I have projects to deliver. So I just needed to, with prayers, I just needed to be strong. And one of the things that we've done is I was able to speak to some of my colleagues that are into the same industry, that have factories. And we're able to collaborate, most importantly, to be able to finish those jobs that were affected in the fire. Because after the fire, I reached out to these customers, about 4 of them. And of course, I sent them the videos. This is what has happened. And I was just trying to make them understand that, okay, in spite of this, I'm still, obligated to deliver as promised. But what I wanted to ask from you people is to give us more time so that we can source these materials again and see how we can reproduce this product. So I was able to reach, I think I've made contacts with 2 of my colleagues, and they graciously offer their factory equipment. So I'm left with to kind of rally around to get the materials on how to process this project. And it's not been easy, but I don't know how it's going to happen. I know prayers have gone up, the support, of course, people have, been empathetic, really, really encouraging. But I just know that I'm taking it one day at a time. Okay, I don't know what the end of month is going to be. I still have salaries to pay, right? Because the truth is that those people have been displaced. About 30 member staffs have been displaced. We don't have an office. But God has just made them, despite all, they still come around. There's no space. There's no place to sit down. We particularly just got plastic chairs and made interim table. But they still come around and say, Madam, we're still here with you. This happened to all of us. And that alone is even kind of very encouraging. But in spite of that, I know that I still need to cater for these people. And somehow we still need to rebuild. Yeah, those people have offered these spaces to work, but it's just temporal. We still need to get back. And like I said, it's just one day at a time.
It's a very difficult situation. We must acknowledge and admit that.
Thank you.
So let's talk about, because I'm sure people would like to support you one way or the other. People that are watching, good-spirited Nigerians who have seen what we've shown to them from what it was to what it is. So in terms of the value of what was went up in flames, what's the value, maybe in Naira or dollar terms now, and what is required to restore your business back?
Okay, so we're able to gather this cost total to 90 million naira. In dollar is about $56,000. And we actually need to leave the space because the landlord has said that we need to leave. And not just leave, we need to rebuild what has burnt. So at this moment, we are looking for a place to lease, right, so that we can actually continue what we've been doing and rebuild, because the truth is that we know we can get this up. We did it from the beginning, and I know we can still do it. So we are looking now to say, okay, every support that we can get, maybe from the government, from Bank of Industry, from industry partners, and even investors that, I think for me, it's a very good time for investors to want to come in. So every support that we can get in one way or the other will be really, really, really appreciated.
Amazing. I love the fact that you're still pushing. You're not letting this set you back. There's a very popular saying where I'm from, and I'm sure they've probably told you time and again, that when a king's house burns, it's actually beauty it brings. It brings up something even much more beautiful. And that's what I just see when I see you and when I see those images. Because for a lot of people, they said you do great work. 9 years.
Yes, we do.
In the business, right? So we look forward to what will come out of this, the beauty that will come out of this, and we'll be here to follow your story. But on a final note, perhaps maybe lessons. Again, to take away from this, not regrets, but lessons, because there are other business owners who are watching, and it's important to also form a community, empower each other, learn from each other. What would those lessons be for you?
So there are lots of lessons, right? And beyond the lessons, maybe I should have even said this, I'm also thankful that in all of this fire, no life was lost, right? So that is a very big one that I'm appreciative of, God. So basically, lesson, first of it is insurance. Right, so the truth was that I actually started the process, but I didn't follow through. So I would admonish every business owner, especially if you own a capital-intensive project like, machineries, please don't hesitate in doing your insurance. Even if it's just one equipment, then you take the second one, third one, it's a no-brainer. We all need insurance for our businesses. And secondly would be, of course, efficient fire safety equipment. So we had extinguishers, we had TAP, but I believe we had like maybe the industrial fire extinguishers, like something to like 50 or 100 kg. Somehow maybe it would have helped, right? And also just ensure that you bring in like a fire safety person to come and peruse your environment and advise you what you need to put in place. I didn't do that. So I'm in fact, I don't need anybody to tell me the next place I'm going to. Before I even start building anything, I'll bring a fire safety professional to come and advise us on what needs to be done, just in case. And we're not hoping that it will happen again anyway.
Certainly.
But we need to take precautions.
Joan, we have to thank you so much and say we're excited for you, what the future holds. We've been speaking with Joan Mbogo, CEO, Joanswood Creation Limited. Her place of business went up in smoke, but we're excited that in the coming weeks, months, it'll be back bigger and better.
I'm sure anybody who wants to support you has seen you now, so you could catch up and watch it and reach out to you.
All right.
Thank you so much, Joan.
So much.
Wish you the best.
Thank you.